world needs to know. And I just want you to hang on. Good things are coming. You know what I mean? So just keep pressing forward.
I will, but you definitely say a prayer for me because this one right here is really, really eating me up. But I feel confident that God will bless me so that I can bless my community. And I want people to be comfortable when they're in here. You know, and people kept saying to me, oh, it's going to be fall, it's going to be fall. This office does not have windows that open. And no one should be in a space that they cannot be comfortable in. And that is the thing that happens in our, we are so often expected to not be comfortable. And we should not be forced to not be comfortable.
Well, used to the struggle.
Right. I'm not going to comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. So first and foremost, before we get started, the topic is accountability. I wanted to, number one, thank you for getting on and make sure people knew who you were. I know your name is right there, Cy Lewis, but tell people about your organization and what the goals are. And I tell them why I believe in you and why we're going to do all we can to support you. But can you take a few minutes and just tell our audience about you and what you're doing on the East Side?
So my name is Cy Lewis, and I'm the executive director and founder of Meadows Eastside Community Resource Organization. And we are on the southeast side of South Shore community in Chicago. And the goal of our mission is to support through trainings, seminars, and information. The impact that we're trying to have in our community is to inform, educate, and support our community members and our businesses. So we do that through the types of trainings that will impact our homeowners through information in energy efficiency, self-sufficiency, home ownership, cleaning up our blighted neighborhoods so that it will impact the value of the homes in our communities. And we help our business owners by impacting how they have relationships with the community members and the types of people that they hire into the community, by also training them on how to get fundings for their businesses so that they will have viable businesses and a business model that respects the community that they are set down in, so that they are supporting the community base that they are residing in. So we want them to bring businesses that support the community, not have the community support their business.
And how long you been doing it?
Well, I've been doing this for 30 years. I'm also an environmental activist and advocate. So I support park advisory councils and the setting up of park advisory councils in our communities, and the importance of having park advisory councils and becoming park advisory council members in our communities. We always talk about programming that we're going to do for our seniors. If we become members on those park advisory councils, then we have the ability to advise those who are in charge of those parks as to what type of programming we want for our children and what kind of programming we want for our community members. So to give you an example, if our kids are out on the streets in the evenings, then we want evening basketball programs for our children. If our young girls are outside and they have nothing to do, then we want double dutch programs for them. If they want to do programming, then we want programming, computer programming, we want STEM programming. We can ask for those. We can get those programmings in. If our women want to learn how to sew, then we can get those types of programs in. If you can get 20 people who are interested in a program, we can find an instructor and we can get that type of programming in. So we keep looking for community centers to stand up. Park districts are in every community in our city. We can stand up these programs in these park districts. We need park advisory.
Well, you know, the argument is they say the parks are too expensive now. What do you say to that?
You broke up.
Let me see here. I say, you know, the argument is that the parks are too expensive. Parents can't afford it. What do you say to that?
Well, what I say to that is that no child is left behind at the park district. There are programs that, I know you just heard that someone is working in here. So there's no program that, there are programs that and waivers, fee waivers that any parent can sign up for. So we're not supposed to turn away anyone from our park programs, but that is also something that park advisory councils can do. We fundraise. So even if it means that, hey, we're gonna have a festival and we're gonna sell hot dogs. And those hot dogs are going to pay for our children and our adults who have to come in and need to take a class.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that we do. And we also solicit our community partners to give us funds for those types of programs. Home Depot has been a wonderful community partner. Lowe's has been a wonderful community partner, as well as these businesses that we talk so much about standing up in our communities. We support you on a daily basis by coming to your business. Feel free to support our park advisory programs so that our children who you say are standing in front of your stores can now come to these Park Advisory Council programs, have something to do during those days where you say they're standing in front of your business.
You know, I think that's probably the biggest thing that can be promoted is what you just said. Most people that I talk to, they just believe the parks are too expensive, and they need to know getting involved, being on these advisories will give them an opportunity to raise money and have, you know, waivers and things of that nature. So that needs to get out there more. So.
Well, I agree. And I think that before this conversation is over, I would like to look up, because I think that the park district has something almost like $250 million or half of, something like $500 million budget. That's one of the largest budgets in the city. So don't forget, it's a park district, it's the city park district budget, but it's also the forest preserve budget. There's a 4-H budget. I sit on the board for the University of Illinois Extension Council. The 4-H program has programs that are amazing, that send children to some of the most amazing programs, and our children don't know anything about it. And that's county-wide. It doesn't matter if you just live in the city. Right. And so 4-H programs are not just in Illinois, they're all over states. And notice I didn't pick any particular state. So we have to look up 4-H programs, whatever state you're in.
Yeah.
So these are the things that you have to focus on, where there are budgets, where you can be on an advisory council, where you can have impact on where that money is spent, and you can change the dynamic in your community.
So should we have, though, because once you become a member of the advisory council, that's your direct involvement with government, you know, in this case, park government. Shouldn't there be an ad hoc citywide, we are in 20 zip codes, support system that's non-governmental, where we support each other, and that way when we go to our individual park advisories, we still have our external support arm to be there for each other if we need to rally the troops? What do you think about that?
Well, I don't think that it is, I don't think that it's so necessary, but in some cases it is. So take, for instance, and I'm going to put it out there, I sit on the Midway Park Advisory Council.
Mm-hmm.
Midway Park Advisory Council is that park that sits between the University of Chicago and the area where 63rd Street lies. It's very controversial. I've had some controversial meetings where it is, in my opinion, divided by race in a lot of ways. At one point, we were trying to ensure that it was a more fair and equitable advisory council. So the Park Advisory Council has a Black leadership, but I can't say all of the things that I want to say. So I'm going to have to just bypass that conversation and have that conversation offline.
Let me say this to you. Let me say this to you. Reason why I think is still needed, because I know in certain areas this conversation wouldn't be happening at all. So the reason I say something can be almost like a recruiting arm to make sure that people even know about it. And like let's just say, for instance, we do Marquette Park or Gage Park, and the people sometimes feel intimidated if they're not a part of government at all, haven't been a part of no caps or anything like that, but they want to see clean parks, safe parks. So I believe if they knew they can call USI, if they knew they can call other people who are non-governmental people, it'll give them confidence to go and stand before a real government structure and say, "Sai told me I can do X, Y, and Z," whereas that local park could be bullying them, making them feel like they're being bullied, if you will. So that's what I mean by that.
Most certainly. So let me give you a for instance. I'm going to go back to that park. They don't want basketball courts. They don't want baseball. They don't want playgrounds. They don't want anything that would bring in a lot of people who would like to bring their children in to have fun. They don't want you to bring a blanket and bring a grill. They don't want you sitting around that park. They wanted green open spaces. They want Burnham. They said Burnham doesn't want people sitting in this park hanging out.
I'm not surprised. Like, what you're saying isn't earth shattering at all. I'm not surprised. But again, I think we got some superstars sitting on the sideline because they haven't been encouraged to get involved.
Yeah, well, you know what? There are a lot of parks that don't have a park advisory council, and they're just waiting for the taking. They are waiting for the taking.
So let's switch gears, Sai.
Yes.
Now, when you doing your fundraiser first? When you doing? You didn't even tell us the name of your organization.
Meadows Eastside. That was the first thing I told you. Meadows Eastside Community Resource Organization, MECRO.
MECRO.
For short.
MECRO. For short. And yes. How do people support you? You have a website they can go to and donate, like you got Cash App. What do people do?
We have PayPal. We have a website that you can go to. There's a way that you can donate to the organization. We are trying to make sure that as we enter into the winter season, that none of our seniors are left behind, that nobody is left in the dark. One of our goals is to make sure that they are always able to pay their utility bills. And as you know, programs like LIHEAP help them to pay their utility bills. What you don't know is that there is a portion that they have to pay. So though LIHEAP will pay a portion, they still have a portion that they have to pay. And a lot of these seniors cannot afford to pay that portion. And that is where we come in to try to help them to mitigate that portion.
But when are you doing your fundraiser? When are you doing your big fundraiser? We're going to do a telethon. How are we going to get some money in the coffers before 2020 is over?
Well, we're going to do a fundraiser. And I have not worked all of that out, but I promise you by September 11th, you will have all of the information on the fundraiser that Meadows Eastside is going to do.
Well, I told you in October, we're concentrating on your area. So on our end, October gonna be our big push for you, just on our end. So however you do
Well, in
yours, that's gonna
October,
be
that's when I'm going to do my fundraiser. In October, that's when I'm going to do my fundraiser. But in September, that's when I'm going to start putting out
okay.
information with details.
Yeah, excellent. All right, cool beans. So now that we got that out the way, we talked earlier this month about Section 8 and public housing. And one of the things that really challenges me is when I look at the state of our community, the Black community. It's almost like a gigantic disconnect. Our people in the public housing, whether Argyle Gardens, Dearborn, across the country, it's almost like there's no pipeline, no interaction between them and the blacks not in the projects and the more affluent blacks. Almost like everyone is in their silo, no future. And when I look at the Latino community, I see people who have a pipeline where they support each other. They bring each other up from Mexico. They live 3 or 4 in the household, possibly more than that, and then they move on and take market share housing in neighborhoods that look
Yes.
like ours. So they have a process and a pipeline, and I see us in silos, partitions with no pipeline. And I mentioned to you that we need to create a pipeline where we're helping our people who want to leave public housing to get into our community, to make it vibrant again, and teach them the skills, what it's like to be a homeowner. And you said, Sai, we have the tools we need. We need to just do X, Y, and Z. So tell our audience first, why do you feel you're skilled? And then what is it that can be done?
I lost your. I lost you. Can you still hear me?
I hear you perfectly fine.
But I've lost vision for you, and I'm actually trying to get you back. Well, I'm not going to worry about you seeing me right now,
I
but
can see you
because I don't
fine.
want us to.
You look very
So
determined right now.
I'm sorry.
You look very determined. I can see you looking at the screen, so I can see you well.
Oh, okay. So as long as you can see me, I'm not going to worry about whether or not I can see you. So one of the things that I think is really important, and this is for all of our family members, because that's what I think of our community as. I think of them as family members, to know about their Section 8 vouchers, if they are, whether they have a family, a housing choice voucher, or whether they have a Section 8 voucher, is the importance of the FSS program, and that's the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. And it is exactly what it purports to be. It's a way to move your family to self-sufficiency. And one should not be concerned about whether or not you're going to lose your voucher. You should be concerned with the model of moving to self-sufficiency, because the goal is to ensure that your income will supersede what you are getting as a voucher holder.
Right.
Okay, so it's going to take you not just from being a voucher holder, but to home ownership. And so that is the goal of the self-sufficiency program. So a part of the self-sufficiency program is to develop a goal for the family member or the client. And so you choose a goal. If your goal is to be a homeowner someday, if you're paying rent to a property owner, and let's say you have 4 children and you're paying $1,800, I'm just using these numbers as a model, and you're living on this property owner's house for 10 years, you bought his house twice, maybe 3 times over. And if you use your housing choice voucher to move towards self-sufficiency, you have the opportunity to take classes in financial management, to take an opportunity to go to school and not only get your GED, but to get advanced education, to perhaps move towards your associate's degree, your bachelor's degree, or even to take a trade. There are trades at this point that are paying $35, $45, $55 an hour. Take, for instance, the contract tracing program right now, which you don't even have to have a degree for. You can have a high school diploma. I sit on the board of the University of Illinois Extension Program, and one of my cohorts on there said today that there are people with advanced degrees, bachelor's and master's degrees, that are applying for these contract tracers positions. That is because of the amount of money that they are paying for these jobs, and you have the ability to apply for these jobs. So what that does is it allows you to move forward with your goal that much faster. But in this, they have classes that you can take, and these are not required classes. These are a list of classes that you can select that will be of interest to you. And for each class you take, there is a monetary value attached to it, but there's also the intellectual value that's attached to it that helps you, because this is about building you up as a person so that it makes you more qualified to be a homeowner and maintain your home ownership for the duration. So if you have a 15-year mortgage, if you have a 30-year mortgage, that you can then pass on that house to your child, who then knows how to take care of that house for their 15 and 30 years.
So let me make sure I understand.
Helps to explain it.
So let me make sure I understand. So housing voucher is different than Section 8 voucher?
So housing choice voucher is a little different than a Section 8 voucher. So there are two types of vouchers, yes. So in essence, that the FSS program seeks to help participants make measurable progress toward economic security so that they no longer need welfare programs. So does that help?
Yeah, well, but here's what I want to, because I know some people attention span isn't going to stay with us too long with that. So right now, we already clarified that it doesn't make sense to stay paying rent to someone for more than 10 years. You could have bought the house. So we got people who are in public housing. They probably don't have the job, and that's why they, probably can't move on. And so what you were just highlighting to me were the skill set development, how they can go to school and build their skill sets up so that they can have steady income.
That is correct. But there's also another program. So, so that program coupled with, so if that person who's got Section 8 also is receiving Social Security, Social Security disability, there's a program for Social Security disability that is called Ticket to Work. So that person who has Social Security disability can couple this FSS program with a Ticket to Work program, which allows them to then try, note that I said try, to dip their toe back into working. So they have the opportunity to get training, seek a job through a rehabilitation program, which is a rehabilitation specialist who, now not somebody who's working on their body, not somebody who's working on their mind, but someone who sits down with them, asks them, what is it that you think that you would like to do? Do you think that you would like to take a job training program to do something like be a contract tracer? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so we're gonna take you through this program. Okay, you go through the program. Okay, you're gonna work. So these first several months that you work, it does not affect your Social Security disability, the money that you're getting,
right?
Your insurance, it affects nothing. We are giving you a chance to test out if you are going to be able to work. You determine if you're going to be able to keep this job and work. If you find that this is something you love and you want to stay with, then you can say, I love it, I'm going to stay with it. I'm going to couple this with my FSS program. I think I can make it. Okay, this person is a success. Okay, if a year from now you feel like I faltered, I can't make it. Okay, you go back to Social Security. I faltered, I can't make it. You go back on SSD.
So, all right. So so I get that part. Now, how does it work in terms of actually using their Section 8 money toward a home?
Okay, so the FSS program, I am not an expert at, but I don't want to quote on exactly how that program works in terms of how they apply all of the funding toward the house. So I'm going to quote from the website. A housing authority may, but is not required to deny your application. Okay, no, that's not it. I'm not going to quote from that program. I would like to get further information from you for you.
Now,
And
what
then
about
I
this
can
side?
post
Because
it
I
to
think,
your
yeah, we not gonna solve Rome here, but just in general, just overview, it's designed to help people. Like, I didn't even know you can do that. And so from just a peripheral area, what is the goal of self-sufficiency, of course, but you're saying that it's possible that they can use their voucher toward it.
Yes, yes. That is definitely correct.
So
So
it
you
makes
don't
sense.
lose your voucher. The point is to be able to use your voucher towards your monthly mortgage.
So it makes sense. Like, do you know if we have a pipeline? Like, is there a program at Argyle Gardens working in Dearborn Homes working to get our people into Inglewood and to West Inglewood and to North Lawndale? Do you know of anything?
Well, the Heartland Foundation manages the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, as far as I know. What is her name? Gloria Hernandez. And so anyone who is on Section 8, anyone who has a housing choice voucher should be able to call their Section 8. They should be able to call CHAC if you live in Chicago. You should be able to call CHAC, which is the Chicago Housing Authority, and ask to speak to somebody about the Family Self-Sufficiency Program and let them know that they want to join, or they should be able to go to the website and click on Family Self-Sufficiency and enroll in that program.
So let's see here. I just stopped sharing the whiteboard there. So for the bottom line, what I wanted to just really stress is I think it's imperative, side, that we create that pipeline, because to not do that, to me, is just allowing the next generation to just stay without the layers of support. So I just wanted people who's watching this to know this is a commitment that I want to make sure, because when we talk about the violence and whatnot, if we got people toiling away, isolated from the rest of us, to me, that's violence prevention. If we can start engaging them and giving them skills and support.
Well, I agree. Skills and support is important. I think that for a lot of our young people, what is important to them is to be able to go to a place that they can call home. They want to go to their mother's house, not to an apartment building. They want to go home. If they're stopped for something, if they're being held, and when I say held against their will, I mean stopped by the authorities.
Right.
The first thing is, I want to go home, man. Let me go.
Right.
I want to go home. Because that's where they find safety and respite. And
right.
So we have to create communities that embody home. That is what CEL is trying to do with clean communities. That is what we're trying to do with creating corridors that support home ownership and business corridors that support financial and economic well-being, and community programming that support all of that. So it's a holistic goal.
Yeah. Now, what's happening in Chicago, especially with our young people? What's your take on where we're headed? You know, we have the young guy got shot to death in front of one of the Fortune or fancy clothing stores downtown. And I believe his mom did an interview, and she was speaking about no retaliation. We got the looting that just took place down there. You got the mayor appeared to be siding with the north side. And then I just read today's side that apartment buildings sent the notice that their residents up in apartment buildings are fearful. They don't walk their dogs at night no more. They don't feel safe, and they're thinking about leaving the city. What's the accountability from the property managers up north? Should they have some culpability with what's happening in the city, from Black youth, Black parents? Just let's hear from you, Si. What's your take on, like, it seems like everything is all up in the air and all over the place.
So I lived in a high rise in Hyde Park for 11 years. And though there was a different climate, here's what I think about the people who live downtown who are scared to come out and walk their dogs at night. Welcome to our reality. What do you think about the seniors who live in what you all have been terming blighted communities for the last 25 years? You labeled our communities blighted and left us, and left our seniors and our women and our children afraid to get on the buses and go to school. Just everyday things like walking your dog at night. Our kids were afraid to go to school every day. Our seniors are held in house, hostage. And now you want us to feel empathetic because you're scared to walk your dogs. Well, I don't have any empathy for that. I don't think that our young people should be downtown looting. But I don't think that the resources for the inner city should be all directed toward the downtown. I got a call from my uncle that said they were out in Roseland and they were ushering people out of the stores because they had to lock down because they thought that they were going to be looted. So what I'm saying is what I said on my lives: where are the police for our communities? Because these businesses count too. Everything out here counts too. The hearts of the people in our communities count too.
What about the parents, Si? What about the parents who have boys and they know their boys is rapping about violence? What's your take on that?
I have two brothers, 20 and 22 years old. It is not tolerable in my family. It does not happen because it starts with what you tolerate from your children. So my take on it is garbage in, garbage out. If you let this happen, if you tolerate it, if the airways play it, and that's the garbage that's going into then the younger kids, and they're sitting out there on the porch listening to it and listening to you play it, then that becomes their mindset. That becomes all they know. They don't know Marvin Gaye. They don't know Curtis Mayfield. They know mumble rap. They know the B better have my money. And
now let me play devil's advocate, Si. I was born in 1975. I remember in the 90s a song that says, I beat that BITCH with a bat. I beat that with a bat. And I remember singing it. The beat was good, but I can tell you, I wasn't thinking about really beating a female with a bat, but that beat and the music was like, yeah, yeah. And in hindsight, in my 40s, I'm like, man, look how cruel that was. Like, man, what was we thinking? That was 30 years later, you know? So is it the music, or like you say, is it the conditions that we're giving all the resources outside and nothing is left there and there's nothing else to fill the gap, the void?
But there's nothing else to fill the void. That, you know, this is not art. This is not art. Tupac was art, you know? And though he had some, as a matter of fact, I did my senior thesis on Tupac. And so, well, how about that? But here's the thing. What is the difference between message music? Because this is not message music. This is just profanity for profanity's sake. There's no message in this music.
They will argue it's a message if they dissing a rival and they saying F you, I'm gonna come and get you.
That's
I think
not a
that's
message.
a message, Si.
No, that's not a message. That's you know what I'm saying when I say message music. So is there a social message to it? So, you know, because I could give you a message right now if I wanted to just say message music. My name, dear Si, is just the same. You know.
No, I know, right? No, I'm just saying, in terms of like in their minds, they believe that I heard one guy say, I'm just making a song, and song didn't even equate to what I'm hearing your lyrics are. That's not a song, that's devil rap music. But in his mind, he's making a song, you know. So what's the solution? Is it what's the solution? What can be done about this?
So I don't think that we can stop it, but I think that we can leverage what goes through the airways. That is what I believe.
And
I believe that we can.
Remember at 9 o'clock at night, GCI, that's when they played the music, and my mother used to say, cut that off, because it went off at a certain hour, then it went,
Yes.
You know, with some sexy music and stuff.
Yes.
But during the school hours, I remember it was cleaner.
Yes, and that's what I believe that we can leverage. I think that we can leverage what plays at a certain time, but I also think that we can leverage moving that type of music to streaming services.
Yeah.
And I think that is what needs to be done, that it has to be leveraged, that it goes to streaming services, because let's see what they'll pay for.
Well, we know who really buys that music. You know who really keeps the financial coffers filled. And I'm out here in North Georgia, and when you hear killer music, it's white people riding around playing this black music saying, shoot, kill. And the white people looking at me, I'm like, I'm not playing that. That's the white boy playing it. It's not me playing it. But they talking about nigga, 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 nigga. And they looking at me as if I'm the one playing it. And I'm not. It's the white kids out here. So that's who I believe is financially supporting that. And the white executives benefit from letting suburbia and rural white kids who going to pay for that live this fantasy of urban lifestyle. Have you heard of Quabena Pratt out of Gary, Indiana?
No.
So he has Clear the Airways project, and I'm a big supporter of it, where they go after the executives who are pushing this music. And if them same artists talk about the Jewish community or the lesbian community, the gay community, they blot it out. But when they talk about NIGGA and Kill, they let it play. And so they're working on clearing the airways and exposing that it could be a conspiracy. What do you think about that?
I think that all of our community activists, I think all of our Black Lives Matter, I think that all of our Black Power activists and all of our 1960s pro-Black leaders should get right on top of that. And I think that if somebody hasn't gotten the letter out to them, to make them aware that that letter needs to go out to the suite.
Well, now that you just told me you don't know, I'm gonna make sure I connect you with him and Leela Willis. She wrote the FCC, and they wrote back and said Bobby Rush is in charge of the FCC committee. So they saying, hey, get with Bobby Rush if you got a problem. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes from an accountability standpoint. What is Bobby Rush's position on this music playing in urban radio stations all over the nation? What was Bobby?
Well, his son, Flynn Rush, lives right here in Chicago.
Accountability is a must, no matter who you are. We gotta be able to hold people accountable, you know.
I agree.
So
I agree
the last part I wanna really so we got the rioting and the looting the young people. What's your take on, you could say the east side probably got the more affluent blacks than the middle south side, except over near Western 79th, that area Western, and the west side. All right, they feel, some west siders feel like the south siders think that they are better than them. I've heard south siders say they think the west siders feel better than them, and the east side is always tucked away, not a part of that from what I hear. And what I've seen from Chatham all the way over to Calumet Heights, South Shore, is that you guys are tucked away and you know, may not be concerned about the other side of town. From an east sider, what's your thoughts on that? Is that a perception that's accurate or is not? What's your take on that? And I know you know Valerie Leonard. She's a west side all day.
I love Valerie Leonard. She is one of the brightest minds that exist in community activism, in the nonprofit sector, in community development. She is one of the brightest minds that we have in this city and in this state.
Yep.
And I'm sure that she would tell you this. There is no demarcation in terms of where everything is happening. It's happening the same all over. So let me say this. I have been a beat facilitator. I spent years as a beat facilitator. Mm-hmm. What I know is data, and what I know is criminal stats. Every month, police departments all over the city have CompStats. If you want to know about crime, the East Side can stop. Well, there is no hoity-toity on the East Side. There is no hoity-toity on over by the lake. We have serious crime stats. Chatham has serious crime stats. The 4th district has serious crime stats. The 4th district is the southeast side. The 3rd district has serious crime stats. That's the southeast side. And as a supplement to this video, I am going to post this crime stat for all of our districts so that everyone will be able to know fairly where they stand.
But so, and thank you for that. That's clarity from that angle. But when do, like, I believe Chicago, unlike any other city in America, is the toughest city to organize in, because when do West Side, South Side, and East Side do something together? When is it? Help me know. Like, when is that all three sides do something together?
Notice I'm looking up to the sky, hoping for an answer to rain down on me, because I'm really trying to think. I think one of the closest things that I can think of that we've done collaboratively is when we've had some type of festival.
On whose side of town?
Yeah, because I was thinking about the Bud Billiken Day Parade when everybody comes together, but that's on the south side.
No, so I can tell you firsthand, as a west side, I always was like,
yeah, that's not. But what can you have? What can you have that all, I mean, because the only thing that you can have, it has to happen in the center of the city. The center of the city is downtown.
I think we should rotate it though. This year we do the east side, next year we do the west side. And I think we should play baseball, softball. I think it should be all three sides of town. Let's do some baseball, softball type stuff. You know, we got to work on that because we a powerful group in
So
Chicago.
who are these people you want to have? Do you want to get all community organizers together and
I
have
think we should do a
teams?
senior citizen version. Get the elders, the over 40s together to compete, the 30s to compete, the 20s, and it be the community leaders, the CAPS people, the park advisory people, the street organizations, and the religious people. Let's get the Baptists and the Methodists and
So all of those people have events. All of them, so every year, we have a park advisory council every year. All of the parks, all over the city, we have an event, and we have a park advisory council, and we meet actually on the west side. We meet at Malcolm X College. So that's every park advisory council. So CAP. So I'm not quite sure what it is.
But see, now here's the big challenge with that. I'm not talking all, and I'm not talking all because we got a problem. We do. Black people. I'm saying, what are we doing to break down the myth of West Side, South Side, East Side? We, independent of all the governmental structures that got us, doing parts. I just think we should put that together, side. And Val Leonard is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Strong West Side mind, strong East Side mind. Y'all know each other, love each other. We need to see that in every arena. West Side police, East Side police. We need to see like in every arena. Nurses, West Side nurse, East Side nurse. No boundaries. Every arena. I think we got to push toward that.
So I would like to see it happen. So I think that post-COVID, I think that we are going to come out of this pandemic with a different mindset of how we want to connect with people. Mm-hmm. I think that post-COVID, post-pandemic, while we are confined, so to speak, this gives us a wonderful opportunity to draw up a plan of how that looks. This year has been heartbreaking for me because this was the year that I was invited to go to the United Nations. This was also the year that I was supposed to go to South Africa. But my invitation to the United Nations was something that I was so looking forward to. And I think that for me, it was a culmination of so many years of just community work and just being able to see people who are at the pinnacle of what they do in terms of changing things worldwide, from youth to our senior statesmen. So I am looking at what the world is going to look like post-pandemic. And I have talked to Ms. Leonard about that. And, she is planning and preparing people, not herself, but people and organizers and organizations. And for those who are not taking advantage of that, they're missing that opportunity. This is not the time to be sitting at home watching TV and talking about I'm gaining the COVID-10. This is the time to be getting muscles in your mind.
Yeah, big time. And I do think we gonna come out stronger.
Yes. So I am going to take into consideration exactly what you said and start looking at ways to plan that. So much like an elephant, we can't chew it all at one time, but taking one bite at a time. And like you said, the nurses, the doctors, the police, the activists, and if each of us takes, a sector and see how we can work that plan, I think that in a few months, we may have something, we may have a blueprint.
Yep, I love it. This has been awesome. Thank you for coming on short notice. You stay game ready. Anything you want to leave for our people? Contact information, anything?
So you can reach me at meadowseastside.org. I would be happy to talk to anyone at any time. All of my contact information is there. You can email me at sylewis@meadowseastside.org. You can also reach me on Instagram, Facebook at meadowseastside.org.
And what are we gonna do, everyone? We're gonna make sure that you guys see Sister Sai, what her organization is doing. We're gonna get people more ready in September so we can support her organization. And just so you know, Val Leonard and her organization is every July, North Lawndale. So that give us, 8 months to get ready to support Sister Val Leonard in July. But we want to really bulk this up so every month, citywide, we're getting people to go in and financially support these fundraisers for the unsung heroes like yourself. So that's all I have. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you so much. You always stimulate my mind. So thank you. And everyone have a good night.
All right. See you later. Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.